but it's fine. You can call me by my second name, which is Queenie.
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 Ah, thank
Yes.
you.
Kathiro is my surname. I am from Namibia. I am a candidate legal practitioner. I graduated from the University of Namibia April 2024. I'm the former SRC for Community Development and Gender Affairs as well at the University of Namibia. And I am a youth activist. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charity Siloka from Zambia. I am a fourth-year student studying education with business studies. I'm a bit out of place here. My main focus really is young women, young people in skills training, anything to do with youth action. You will definitely find me there. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. So we have seen this statement that young people are drivers of climate action, but help me understand, what is the importance, what is their significance within the space in taking up initiatives to fight against climate change in their countries? I'll start with you, Talonga.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So this is simple, the way I'm going to respond to the question. So for those from Zimbabwe, what percentage do the young people constitute? Like the percentage of the population? It's over 60%. That's very significant. So if young people are going to do something, they're going to raise their voices, they're obviously going to be heard because that's like more than half of the population in Zimbabwe. And we're talking about the global goals. Climate action is Sustainable Development Goal number 13. So if the young people are taking up advocacy in climate action, doing initiatives that promote the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, it means they're also contributing significantly to the global goals. Yeah, in short.
Thank you. Queenie, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Not diverting from what you said, just to add on to what she said as well, the youth population as well is in Namibia, it's the highest population as it stands, and everything that happens around climate change affects the youth greatly as we progress in age as well. So because our continent, or rather Southern African countries are really based on, they're quite affected by climate impacted sectors such as the tourism industry, the agricultural industry, as well as fishery. So a lot of, let's say, development changes around climate change affects the youth in terms of agricultural productivity around Southern Africa and in Namibia, to be specific. You look at when there's a decline in agricultural productivity, then of course there's also unemployment issues among the youth. There's also a lack of food security within our households and just around Southern Africa. So it really is of great significance to encourage and to know that young people are taking up initiatives that really have to do with climate change.
Thank you so much, Queenie. And Charity, tell us why youth in issues to do with climate action? Why us? Yes.
Hello? Oh, perfect. Okay, so from what has been said, firstly, I'd like to say I think it's not necessarily an individual country's issue, but if you look at Africa in general, the largest population is the youth. So as long as you have youth involved in anything, you really will be able to make a change in whatever it is you're trying to do. So let's take it politics, let's take it climate change, sexual reproductive health. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, as long as you have one, women involved, two, you have the youth involved, then you're definitely able to make the change. An important thing there that we should note also is that, as we are saying, with more youth involved, you're able to make change, you need to understand where that stems from. Being young means you're more exposed to what's going on in your environment. It means you're more exposed to what's going on in the globe. So because we are more exposed, that means we have better ideas. We have the new ideas. We have more information than the older generation. So even if we were to say in our governments, in politics and all that, we have older people, right? But then as long as we try to get involved as the young people and we try to push the older people, then we're able to make more change as we bring more ideas, we have more initiatives, we have more innovation, as long as you involve young people.
Thank you very much. And I believe that we should have a more intergenerational dialogue to say we also have the adults, we also have the young people on the same table trying to fight issues to do with climate change. And I believe as young people, to be where we are, it's all curiosity that drives us to say, why is this happening? And through that, we are able to look for solutions. Just being curious to know why is it young people are not participating? Why is it that we need more spaces as young people? That curiosity in us makes us drive things. But I'll go on to ask, I know also of a question, actually a quote that says that there's no climate action without climate finance, because we need the resources. We can talk about the solutions, the innovation, the AI, the technology, but if we don't have climate finance, we literally cannot act. We literally cannot have the outcomes that we're expecting. So I'll have to ask you, what are the funding opportunity for climate action initiatives on and outside campus for young people? Outside campus as students, as young people. I'll also go to you, Charity.
On that one, I've actually had the opportunity to interact with a number of people from different universities, both within my country and here. When it comes to on-campus climate action, it's more of something rare to see on campus. So if you're looking for funding, you have an initiative, you have something that you're trying to do, within campus, these projects aren't necessarily there. So a lot of times you'll find that we'll have gatherings like this with everyone talking and everyone saying this is what we need to do, but when you actually go on the ground, this isn't what's happening. So if you go into campuses and you ask people, do you have a club for climate change? They'll say, no, we don't. Do you have an organization that's specifically working with you towards climate change action? They'll say, no, we don't. So a lot of times you find that whenever people are being educated on climate change, it's in primary schools, it's in secondary schools. But when it comes to being on campus, if you are not up for it, if you are not trying to actually take the action, no one is actually going to come to you and give it to you. So if we look at issues to do with sexual reproductive health, it's something that you'll find everywhere, regardless of where you go, be it primary schools, be it tertiary education. You find it everywhere. But when it comes to climate change, it's not necessarily something that you find. But then if you go outside campus, within governments, local governments, regions, opportunities for funding are there. There are a lot of projects globally, there are a lot of projects within Africa. So it's available to us, yes, but within the campus ground, not necessarily.
So the issue is on accessibility. And have you been also seeing some of this funding opportunity? Are you able to access them as young people? Just being a youth in the southern region, just being a young person in the campus, what's your take on that, Queenie?
Okay. Like she really said, the ideas are there. And also within the University of Namibia itself, recently introduced short courses on climate change. However, is there really an interest in terms of obtaining this knowledge? Does the youth actually know the importance of participating? Because I want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, you know? So in as much as they make provisions for those things, because I can attest to say that there is not much of climate change activism on the University of Namibia campus grounds. Very little for that matter, if none. So I could really say it's really an issue of how much of it do we know, and do we really think it's important, or what's its importance to us as a youth or as a group as well. So I can't take anything away from what she said.
Thank you so much. I think it also goes back to what he said when he talked, one of the participants to say, how can we be accountable as young people to say, in as much as we need that climate finance, do we really have the knowledge in terms of using those resources? So it's important for us young people to also create that system to say, this is what the donor community wants, and we also create that system in us that fit in within the requirements. I'll also go to you, Tawonga, to say, within the space of accessing the funding, how has it been like for young people?
I have a question for the young people in the room. I'd like to ask them if they really know the steps that they should take for them to be able to access the funds related to climate action, especially in Zimbabwe. Do you guys know the budget that is set aside for climate action initiatives? By raise of hands, how many of you know the budget?
Within your different countries as well?
Yes, within your different countries, actually.
Oh my goodness, this is so scary.
Exactly, this is interesting. I think one factor is ignorance, because they really do not know how to access the funds and where to access the funds from. I'll take an example from the University of Zimbabwe. We have the Vice Chancellor's competition. So students just compete with their climate action ideas, whatever that they plan to do within the institution, and then they'll later expand the projects to the rest of Zimbabwe. After the competitions, then the top 3 ideas will get funding for their projects. But you find out that a lot of students do not know about that.
Have you been also participating?
Yes, I participated. I didn't make it to the top 3, but I participated. But it was just like 10 entries out of an institution of 24,000 students. So we really need to raise awareness on where to get the funds, how to get the funds. There are also government initiatives. The government, especially in Zimbabwe, has a budget on climate change. But do we know, do the young people know? And young people actually lazy to a certain extent. Because those are the things that matter to us. We should be knowing. If I have my climate action idea, whom do I approach? And which channels do I use? As well as the policies that regard using those funds. Because you don't just use the funds. There's also accountability on your end. The accountability part just doesn't apply to the government officials and the people in authority, but to you as well.
I think you're already talking about issues to do with collaborations. These are institutions working hand in hand with youth. But I also believe that, as I said earlier, that Zambia this year also declared a national disaster looking at drought, and also being followed by Malawi, and after Malawi, Zimbabwe. And also you continue seeing these issues coming up, water scarcity, even in South Africa. All those issues are coming up, Cyclone Idai. And also it brings us to understand that this whole climate change issue is it's a common crisis amongst us all. And I think the issue of collaboration is very important. And I also have to get to ask you, what are some of those opportunities for collaboration with other climate activists and youth-serving organizations? What are the opportunities that are there? Just also looking at how the globe is also evolving. Talk about the digitalization issues. Talk about all those issues. What are these? What are they opportunities for collaboration, and where exactly can we get them as young people? I'll ask you, Kenny. You can go ahead.
Thank you again for your question. And like I said, Namibia is, in terms of climate change, the effects or impacts of climate change are quite evident. They are there, however, we really do not look at climate action as something we actually really need to study, so to say, or something we actually need to obtain knowledge in terms of that, because so many people are affected by it. However, we do not act accordingly to actually prevent climate action or climate change. So within my country itself, in terms of opportunities or in terms of collaborations and so forth, very, very little organizations are taking up initiatives to actually, or taking up action against climate change. Very, very, very little. Like I said, even the University of Namibia only recently introduced the short courses on climate change. So it's really just the beginning, and I'm hoping we get better and we get to a point where we could actually be financially stable enough to actually, and the finances are there. The finances are really there. I know the government has initiatives in terms of drought relief and all of those things, but also, do they get to reach the right people? Do they get to reach the right regions? So it's I don't want to say it's a misuse of resources also, but it's also just an allocation and in terms of where to put it and how to put it. And hence why some of us take up opportunities as such, where we could actually extend our arms to gaining knowledge and to collaborate with fellow young people as all of us here in the room.
Thank you very much. And you're emphasizing on issues to do with informed decisions as young people, that we need to be more educated. And we're talking about this whole thing of the just transition, the green economies, and yet we're not advocating for the cues for us to really transit within the what? Towards the green economy. Thank you so much for emphasizing that. And I'll take this question to you as well, Charity, to say, what are the opportunities for collaborations? Are they there? Can young people really access them?
Okay, where I'm coming from, genuinely opportunities are there. There are a number of organizations, there are a lot of government initiatives, organizations are local, there's from the outside as well. There's a lot that's actually happening within the country. But what I think the issue is, I wouldn't necessarily say we're not participating as young people, but what I think is actually happening is that we don't necessarily have access to all these things that are happening. So they are there, yes, but for you to actually get into these organizations, for you to be part of these institutions, we can have sit-downs like this, but a lot of times you find that climate change is discussed among a niche. This is more of a small gathering of people. So then what happens to the rest of people that are not at the conference? What happens to the people you've left at home? So initiatives are there, but then for you to take part in them, for you to actually get into it, you don't really necessarily have as much information as you need for you to actually take part in what's going on.
All right, thank you so much. And as young climate activists, what are some of the challenges that you have faced? Currently, there are issues to do with participating within this space. And in some countries, it's a political environment to talk about issues to do with climate change. It's quite risky. We have seen climate activists, we have seen environmental defenders being arrested for advocating for what they are standing on. So what are some of these challenges? And I also believe this is just being a young leader within the space is stressful. We are also talking about mental health issues. So can you also give some of your experiences in terms of your work, what you have been doing within your country? What are some of these challenges that you have been facing as climate activists?
Okay, so on my end, one of the challenges that we face is resistance. You know, you talk to people about climate change, then they tell you it's a myth. You're trying to make them see that it's reality, it's actually happening. You make them then see the effects of climate change. For example, in Zimbabwe, the cyclone Idai, the droughts. You're like, guys, you see, this is actually happening. But it's a challenge because the people who believe that it's a myth also educate others on how it is a myth. That's a challenge. The first challenge that we actually need to work on. Actually making them see the little things that climate change is doing, the basic, not even going deep into the technicalities, but just the basic from seeing the changes in climate. Like, for example, the rains, maybe the seasons, they are changing. You need to make them see that, but they believe it's a myth because they are resisting the change that is happening. And you also mentioned about mental health. You need to be strong for you to be able to do this. Actually, you really need to be strong because it's not easy. It's something that not everyone does, and it's something that requires a lot of motivation and determination for you to be able to find your way, to be noticed. You know, for example, when you are looking for funding, when you're applying for funding, you need to be somebody who is already doing something, of which for you to do something, you need the resources initially, and you need to be motivated enough for you to be able to push your idea so that people can get to notice. For example, you know, we have worked together at some point. You need to be the one pushing your idea, and also, but no one actually will take care of your mental health. and you also should be in a position to then see, my mental health will be affected this way, so I have to be safe in this space. So yeah, those are like the main challenges because of time that I can talk about when it comes to the work that we do in climate advocacy.
Queenie, what are some of these challenges that you've been facing in Namibia?
I think the biggest one in terms of the Namibian youth is participation. There's a lack of participation among the youth. You could organize all sorts of initiatives. You could come up with all sorts of ideas. However, the youth just doesn't turn up. Same with our elections. The youth doesn't vote. Our youth does not participate in elections like they should. So really, I think the biggest challenge is participation from our youth. And apart from that also, it's the niche she was talking about, because a lot of conversations are fostered in such a way that they only target a certain group. And if you don't fall into that group, then it doesn't work for everyone else. Because I'm driving one symposium called the Young Farmer Symposium. And initially, young people from Namibia, and of course across the different tribal lines we have, not everybody is a farmer. Not everybody is interested in farming. However, drought is still affecting everybody. Whether you're a farmer, whether you're not a farmer, it still has an impact on your life as a young person. So even in that, the Young Farmer Symposium is designed in such a way that it educates young farmers on how to take on drought and stuff like that. But it doesn't really mean that if you're not a farmer, you should not show up or you shouldn't come. However, the moment you say young farmers, already, if I'm not a farmer, I won't show up. So there's really a lack of participation in terms of our youth population. And it's really in a lot of things, in terms of elections, in terms of different seminars, in terms of whatever it is you can organize. It's very difficult to get the youth together and actually just discuss
I think
challenges.
Perhaps maybe we can look into creative ideas on how we can engage young people. Say that music, but I don't know if maybe you can educate me on this. I haven't really found a trending song that is more educational at the same time entertaining. I don't know. Maybe you can give me ideas. Perhaps maybe the DJs can do something. But thank you so much, ladies. I'll have to take questions from the audience. Oh my goodness. Wow. I really like the guy behind there. He was like, I'm over here. Please do pick me up. He was really ready for that. Wow, this is going to... My mother told me to choose. Yes, the guy at the back. I'll take the lady over there. You have asked a question on the previous session, and the lady in front. So I'll take the first three. Thank you so much. So just make your questions very short. Please do introduce yourself, where you're coming from, and also...
1, 2.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Mnotho Twala. I am a student from the University of Eswatini. All right, so talking about climate change, I am aware that my government is implementing strategies on how to mitigate climate change in terms of the agricultural sector. We are an agricultural-based economy. Some of these strategies are, because we need water a lot. Like when you do agriculture, you need water. So we are focusing more on harvesting rain and storing rain and not letting it run off back into the rivers and the ocean, but we do that efficiently. Then secondly, we're also focusing on the artificial, what's it called? Give me a second. It's artificial restoration of groundwater resources. So these are initiatives that are going on, but being a young person, being a student, I just want to know, as an ordinary person, as Mnotho Twala, a student, what are the little things that I can help in the fight against climate change? What are the small things, the small steps that I can take in order to help in the fight against climate change? Thank you.
The emphasis as a student, I like that. I think we'll have to take another question. Just right there. Thank you.
Dumelang, that's hello in my language. I am Olarato Jessica Ngabani. Earlier on, you talked about the involvement of youth or clubs and organizations that are within school campuses. And I'd like to take this opportunity before I ask a question to actually acknowledge the University of Botswana Wildlife and Environmental Conservation Society, which we call UBWEX. This is just strictly a club that was funded by students within the University of Botswana to engage youth on issues of climate change and everything that has to come around climate change. Firstly, I would like to tell you a little bit of what we do at University of Botswana WEX. We do voluntary work. We usually go on 2 weeks camping trips at any designated reserves or parks. That's where we go do voluntary work. We ask the locals how we could help them. How can we enhance pardon me, my nerves are getting the best of me.
You're doing great.
Like I said, we do voluntary work there. We usually, at one time, we had went to Chobe, Savut camp. We had helped to build a bridge there. We came to the locals and they told us that they needed help to build the bridge there, and we did offer that. The UBWEX also offers certificates to students who have been and working on the club for a significant amount of time. I personally had held a position of health under the UBWEX. We were the ones who were responsible to make sure that in those camping trips that we go, the students are not in any need of any contraceptives, medication while we are in the ward, because we exclude ourselves from the general public, the city medication and everything. And I would like to, besides all those positives, we do have challenges in involving the university to actually recognize our club as it is. When we go to such camping trips or we go to do voluntary works, we often have to find ourselves asking for transport. We often have to find ourselves contributing from our own pockets as students to finance our trips. We often have to find food sources and all that. So my question is, how can we involve the university to buy into the idea of clubs and offer us the support that we need?
Thank you very much. She's talking about public participation. How can young people participate in that? And I'll just take another last person, the lady in front. Okay, I think I'll have to do another round. I'll just have to take other 3 people. So for now, I'm just taking 3 questions. Just please do make it short, very short.
Okay, thank you. My name is Nomalanga Ndlovu, and I'm a student at the National University of Science and Technology in Zimbabwe. And my question to the panelists is, what steps have you taken as climate activists to instill fundamental understanding of beneficiaries? Who are our beneficiaries as activists? We're trying to bring students into our cause, right? So what about the basic understanding? What is climate change? Not the geographical meaning, but a meaning that I can then understand and take it to the next person. I'm a young person. The same way we took steps when we were trying to initiate the Condomize initiative. We had all these hashtags, all these engaging concepts. What are we then doing as climate activists to make sure the same drive is done or is implemented when it comes to tackling climate change? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is my panelist here prepared to answer the questions? I would like to also try to chop in there, since I'm also a climate activist. My brother over there asked on how can I participate as a student. An interesting initiative that we carried out to say, which we're also going to do in different universities, to say, as students, within the careers that we have, be it an engineer, be it a medical practitioner, be it a technician, all those careers can find a way in which they can link to climate action. How can you try as an engineer to say, okay, maybe perhaps I'm talking about, I'm in architecture. How can I promote eco-friendly buildings within my area of expertise? What can I do? How can I promote sustainability within the health space? How can I improve? We know that they are all a lot of plastic packaging, even when it comes to the medical equipment. How can we reduce that? What innovative ideas do we have? So I believe that within our different careers, we still have a way to fight climate change. And I think that can be an idea that you can take as a student.
Yes.
Back to my panelists. I don't know who can...
Can I add to that one?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, perhaps just to add to what you can do as a student at the universities to enable yourself to participate or create campus, to create a campus, no, not initiative, sorry, campus clubs rather, yes, and so forth within your university. So I'll tell you a very small story about myself. When I was back in high school, I was not the most talkative person. I was a very shy little girl. I really don't know, I never wanted to participate in anything also. However, when I got to university, I got a different side of it. I discovered there was more to being me than just existing, right? And so that sort of exposed me to the student body structures, for example. It exposed me to student politics rather, within the university. So sometimes you really just have to stretch yourself to wanting to do things, and also as a young person, you'd want to shape yourself in such a way or set yourself up in such a way that you become an asset to whatever organization you form part of. And that is stretching to participating in small activities. Perhaps engage your student representative council. I'm sure every university has that. And so in trying to get into the spaces of the university, I then participated as I ran elections for the student representative council as a representative for community development and gender affairs. It's pure politics, and there are times where you're really, really discouraged and you'd not want to continue with your campaign, but it's normal campaigns. But the moment you make it, that's when I realized there's actually more to just being in university. And there's so much power in the Student Representative Council. So even with that particular group of students, so many initiatives can actually be started. You can come up with ideas. They can be rejected. I know they will reject it so many times. You would want to come up with your own funding, for example. You'd go out and actually fish for people that can fund your programs, and eventually they'll get to see the good in it. So sometimes you really never know until you start. But the starting point is always to start. Just start. You'll get there.
Thank you, Queenie. Yes,
I think I would also want to add on to that. So last year, I was part of the Millennium Fellowship class of 2023. So for you to be able to be part of the fellowship, you just apply through the link that is shared like at the beginning of the year. When you apply and you make it into the Millennium Fellowship class for that year, which is powered by the United Nations, you get opportunities to implement your projects. You apply for funding. So for the one who was asking about how they can participate at their university. So when you apply for the fellowship, they will then connect with the admin at your university, and you'll be able to apply for funding to implement your projects. And the minimum number of people that are required to be able to join at each institution is 8 people. So you can gather your fellows want to be able to be part of the initiative. You apply for the class of 2024, and maybe for next year actually. Then after applying, you actually work on your documents for the project that you want to implement, and you apply for funding. There are like a lot of grants. The 10,000 ones, I was just lazy to apply for a grant. But you implemented something by being part of the Millennium Fellowship. And it's actually good because they get to communicate with your institution directly.
All right, so I'll go for the last round. I'll have the lady in front, the guy over there, and yes, say on the other side. Okay, please do make it very short, a straight question.
I don't think we answered all the questions, did we?
Sorry, just for the sake of time, please pardon me. Can we have a hoving mic? Yes, thank you, you can go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Bridget Munidanto. I'm from Zambia. So my question is, in what ways can young people leverage technology and social media to amplify climate action initiative on campus?
Thank you. Another one, hoving mic. I have a guy just over there. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lerotodi, and my question was just that: how can we integrate indigenous knowledge in this climate change movement? Because you'd find that we already had some traditional ways of coping with climate change, and we dismissed them, and we felt like they're so benign, they're so unworthy. So I was just asking if maybe there's a way to integrate this indigenous knowledge to the climate change movement today.
Interesting question. Last person, the guy in the blue suit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, so mine is not a question, it's a contribution.
Please make it very short.
Yes,
Very
I'm going to
short.
try, but I want to make sure everybody understands. So I'm going to try to make it a very short contribution. So the first one was in regards to the funding opportunities for young people in the climate movement. Yes, there are plenty of them. There's a lot of money out there, but I love how my sister there mentioned that how to get the money is the problem. That's why you need to get involved. It's not like the money is not there. There are millions and millions of money that is out there, but it's for you to get involved. It's for you to make sure you're part of the circle. I understand that it's a closed circle, but make sure you have so many connections. And also the other issue that I want to contribute about is the issue of just transition. Yes, we're gonna talk about just transition as a way forward, but where are we going to talk about just transition? Looking at the global south, who is going to be impacted? There are so many people who are already going to be impacted. As much as climate change is already affecting us, just transition, we are not yet there. That's why we have a 2070 goal, which means we are not ready there. And also my last contribution was also in regards to just a minute. Yes, about, you asked the question about there are other things which we have climate activists going to international conferences, but are they coming back to the people who are on the ground, educating them on what they have learned there? I believe many of you here might not even understand what is COP, what is SB, you understand? So these are some of the things that we need to educate each other in regards to that. But I had a lot, but I had to give it time to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My panelists, please do give your contribution and also your last words to all young people in the room as we round off. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go first. So I'd like to respond to her question first. So she asked about the steps that we are taking as climate activists in Zimbabwe, in Southern Africa, actually. So this is simple. You do not need to do the hard stuff. Just do the awareness part, educate people about what climate change is. For my award, I got the Climate Activism Award, not because I was doing the cloud seeding or whatever, but just because I was raising awareness about what climate change is and what young people can do and what we can do as households back at home for us to be able to deal with the effects of climate change. Like, for example, when it comes to driving cars, my apologies, like, you know, you're living your household, you're 5 of you, but you're all living with your cars when you're going to the same place. Something like that, just educate people about the little things that they can do for them to be able to contribute something to climate action. And due to the time that we have, which is very limited, I'll just give my parting words. So what I can say is climate change affects everyone, and we all have a role to play.
Just to add on to that as well, I would just like to say, even as a youthful population, we underestimate the power of social media. Social media is such a powerful tool. So in terms of raising awareness, in terms of making your ideas known to the world, and I'm sure everybody is watching. There's always somebody watching what you're posting. So there's always somebody on the lookout as to what your next post is. You have 500,000 followers, you have 40,000 followers. What are you using them for? You know, so make use of your social media platforms, make use of whatever tool that you have, put it to good use and make it known as to what it is that you want to convey and teach other people. Even when we go back home now, let's get back. I want to see how many of us would actually go back and post the outcome of this particular conference. So let's make use of social media. Let's educate other people. Let's take back the knowledge that we've gathered here and planted where it should be. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Queenie. Yes, Charity.
Okay, from the question that the gentleman had asked at the back and the question she asked in front about what individual action can you take, I think we can integrate those two by saying we are somewhat overcomplicating climate change. There's a lot of small things that we can do even as individuals. You don't necessarily have to be part of a big organization, get a lot of funding for you to be able to do something, even on your own. Look at the grassroots of climate change action. From the beginning, we've been talking about switch off your light, close your tap. How many of us have left our hotel rooms and switched off the light? Did we close the tap? So there's no need to look at it as something that's so big that you can't achieve or that you have to go through so many people, you need so many connections to get there. There's little things that you can do even on your own. Make it your lifestyle. Post about it. Did you switch off the light when you were leaving? Post about it.
I did.
Go ahead and post about it. We talk about peer pressure in terms of bad things most of the times, but people will follow. As long as you are doing something, you're passionate about it, it's always on your social media, people will definitely follow you.
Okay, so brilliant young ladies, beautiful as they are. So there's this step that you should leave the stage, you know, walking. I don't know, either you're modeling, either you're going to dance, but as young people who are doing something, please show me something. Don't just like walk an ordinary step there. Please do take, yeah, you should show us that you are those ladies taking action within the space. But thank you so much, ladies. You can take your seats. Let's clap hands for them.
Are we seriously dancing?
Thank you so much.